Welcome, everyone, to the Preschool Mindfulness Summit. I'm really excited to have Kaira Jewel Lingo here with us today. She was on our Mindfulness in Education Summit last year, and today she's coming to talk to us about preschool mindfulness. She teaches meditation and mindfulness internationally. She's been all over the world, and she's going to tell us about some of those stories and places today. She's been practicing mindfulness since 1997 and was a nun with Thich Nhat Hanh's order for many years, and she's now living in Colombo in Sri Lanka. She does lots of work with mindful schools as a lead teacher in their year-long mindfulness program. She teaches mindfulness to parents and students with Minds Inc. She was the editor of the Planting Seeds book, which we all love in schools. And I mean, I could go on and on. She's done so many things, so we're really lucky to have her. So welcome, Kaira, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Helen. Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you.
And I just want to remind everyone there's a gift that Kaira's given us, which is a 28-minute guided relaxation, and also the guided pebble meditation, which you can use with the preschoolers. So that's just on the link below, and also her website and social media links and her books are also there if you'd like to have a look. So let's get started. So, Kaira, do you think it's possible for young children, that are maybe have just turned 3, or is it possible for them to learn mindfulness and meditation?
Sure. It's they're naturally mindful and naturally very present, and they also haven't developed the self-regulation yet in their brains. So mindfulness, doing practices together can support their natural tendency to be full of wonder and curiosity and interest in their surroundings, and also teach them ways to take care of themselves and their emotions and learn to recognize a little better what's happening inside when, there's an eruption or and a strong emotion. Yeah. So for sure, there's I've taught families on retreats and also in a weekly mindfulness class where it was multiple ages of kids with their parents, and as young as 2. And of course, what they were getting from the class was different than an older child, but they understood about the bell and breathing and becoming still. And so I think a lot of the things we share with older kids, we can share with younger children, and we just have to modify.
I totally agree. I think what you said is so true, that kids are naturally mindful, aren't they? They so absorbed if you take them out in nature or play in the classroom. And So can you tell us about this, about the pebble meditation? And
Sure.
And work with young kids.
Yes, so this is a practice that I love. It was developed by Thich Nhat Hanh, my teacher, a Zen monk, who's been a monk for more than 70 years. But it's you can use the pebbles. We use 4 pebbles, or you can use your fingers, or you can just guide it without. But for young kids and kids especially, it's helpful to have something tangible. So what we'll often do is have kids, I've done this with kids in a school setting, we'll go out into the yard, we'll try to encourage them to go find 4 different pebbles, and we'll tell them, or sometimes I'll bring them if it's not possible to go out and look for them, but I'll tell them what the 4 pebbles signify and see if they can find a pebble that reminds them of that thing, because that's also a fun. So the first aspect, the first pebble is flower fresh. So I'll say, see if there's a pebble that makes you think of a flower. It might be a pink quartz color, or it might be, something that evokes that. The second flower is to remind us of being a mountain and very solid. So I'll say, try to find a pebble that reminds you of a mountain. And then the third pebble is water, still water reflecting. So they might find a really flat pebble, or, or a blue color. So, they can be creative. So they'll find a water reflecting pebble. And then the fourth pebble is space free. So they'll look for something that reminds them of freedom or spaciousness.
Okay.
So then once all the kids have found their pebbles or chosen their pebbles from what I brought, we'll sit down, and usually we'll have shared something prior to that about breathing, maybe with the bell, so that they know about mindful breathing, because we always start pebble meditation with 3 mindful breaths in and out. So we put all of the pebbles down on, say, the left side. Doesn't matter which side you start, but you're going to be moving them one by one to your right knee, to your other knee. So if you're sitting cross-legged on the ground, then you put all your pebbles down on one side, and then you begin, after 3 mindful breaths settling in, you take one pebble and you put it in both of your palms in your lap, and I will instruct them, breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. So those 2 key words are the things we focus on, with the in-breath flower, with the out-breath fresh. And the idea is, you can talk about this to them beforehand. They can visualize a flower that they really like, or they can just think about times when they've felt fresh and energetic and strong and playful. It could be when they are playing sports, or it could be when they're riding a horse, or petting their dog, or swimming. So I get them to evoke a few moments, and then when they do flower fresh, it's an invitation to really bring that up. And I tell them that, we all have the nature of a flower inside of us. Even when we're very irritated or tired or upset, there's still that nature of curiosity, playfulness, openness, beauty, that's like a flower, a human flower. So we can always be in touch with that energy, even when it doesn't feel like we're a flower. So I teach them that when we do this in the meditation, it's available to us throughout our lives, throughout the day, in any moment. So we breathe 3 times like that. Flower, fresh. They might close their eyes and visualize themselves as a flower, or in that activity that makes them feel energetic, happy. Flower, fresh. And then after 3 breaths, or if they're older, you could do a little longer. You could give a little more guidance. But with the younger kids, just 3 breaths. And you put that pebble down on the other side. So if you picked it up from your left knee, you put it by your right knee.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll say, look at that flower pebble, thank it for reminding you of being a flower, and now you can put it down. And then you pick up the mountain, and you do the same. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. And you might have them reflect. Sometimes I'll have it be a conversation before the meditation, like, when do you feel strong? When do you feel powerful? And one kid once said, when someone trusts me with a secret. I thought that was so sweet. So it could be lots of different things that make them feel strong or solid, like trustworthy. And so then they'll visualize that. Or I'll say, think of your actual body as a mountain. So this is the peak. The top of your head is the peak of the mountain. Your shoulders are the sides of the mountain. And then your legs are the base of the mountain. And see yourself really strong and steady. And sometimes we'll come around and test them out, and we'll say, okay, sit really, really solid and don't let yourself be distracted. And, we'll get kids to go around and try to distract them, and, not touching them, but making a noise, or, seeing if they can startle them. And then the kids are very, resolute, trying to stay very still and strong. So it'll be 3 times with that pebble, and then put it down. Thank our mountain pebble. And then we pick up the still water reflecting pebble. And there I talk about our minds and how our minds can be like still water that reflect things just the way they are, or they can have ripples, and they all can think of a time they've seen a lake where it was rippled and then they couldn't see the trees reflected in it clearly, they couldn't see the clouds, everything was distorted. I say, well, our mind can get like that too, but if we know how to breathe with this pebble of the still water in us, we can help the water come back to stillness and we can see things clearly. So we breathe 3 times, still water, reflecting. And I have them really visualize. See that pool in your mind of still water, very calm. So we do that 3 times. And we put the pebble down, and then the last pebble, we pick it up, and it's breathing in. I feel space inside of me. Breathing out, I feel free. So I ask them when they felt free. And when do they feel lots of space? Say, oh, you can see yourself as like a bird flying through the sky, or you can see yourself on the top of a mountain with so much space around you. Or when we talk about how important space is to feel happy, to give others space, give ourselves space. So then we put that pebble down after 3 breaths, and we can close the meditation with 3 mindful breaths as well. So that's how you do it, and there's lots of variations. Once the kids learn it, I'll often have them guide it. So I'll have one child invite the bell, I'll have one child guide each pebble. Sometimes I'll prepare the text if they are not remembering. They can read it if they're old enough. But for preschool kids, I think having the pebble and just, you don't have to talk about it much. I think it's good to just get active for that age. Yeah. But having them just breathe even 1 or 2 times with each pebble and put it down. And then, you know, you could talk about it together, like how did it feel, or which pebble did you like the most, which did you feel brought you the most, you know, joy or happiness, which could you visualize the best. I
love that. It's really, really beautiful. And I think having the actual pebbles is, you know, would make it really go really well for preschoolers, because they like that tangible thing to hold on to, don't they?
Yes.
I love it. So tell us some more ways that we might be mindful about working with younger children rather than older children, some things that maybe we need to keep in mind.
Sure. I think it's mainly, you know, to keep things active and moving. They're very in their bodies, and they need to, you know, well, you can have them, you know, feel things. And that's not, you know, going into the mind to think, but really feeling, staying with the senses and making it fun. And I think also they can really share some at that age. So having some kind of a ritual to begin where everyone, you know, does something that's a heart-opening thing. Maybe it's sharing appreciation, sharing something they enjoyed the day before, or, you know, nourishing the positive seeds. So the space where they all feel welcome and where they can share and where what's happening for them is respected, and you know, people want to know what's going on for them. I think creating that kind of a space where, you know, even at that young age, kids at 3 might have suffering. Yeah. And to be able to be in a space where they can share and be heard and be loved can, you know, really help them feel okay in their own skin. And I was reading a little bit about this today too, how important it is for kids at that age, and probably other ages as well, but particularly this age, to feel seen and affirmed. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's so important what the teacher or whoever's working with the young children communicates to them about how they're doing. And so I think one thing also with mindfulness is not to ask more than they can do. in a way that creates shame or frustration. So to really gauge, and each group, each child, each class will be different. You know, in Mindful Schools curriculum for kindergarten and up, they say to start with 1 minute of mindfulness or presence in the body, or 1 minute of mindful listening. What I've heard is that it's about 1 minute per year. You know, so if you're 6, you could try 6 minutes or something. But I would say for 3-year-olds, you know, 30 seconds. You know, not asking too much of them in terms of stillness, but certainly like moving. One of my favorite things to share with Pebble Meditation is actually the song, which has movements. And there's small movements, and then there's a dance that I created, which is just those small movements that you all do together in a choreographed way. Right. But to me, that's a really great way to meet that age of kid where they are, with songs, with movements, and that has a, you know, when you sing those songs on a regular basis, that has a consistency where kids then will come to me and say, can we sing that song? Can we do that breathing thing? You know, because they're used to it and they like it, and that repetition really creates a sense of safety, a sense of belonging over time. So maybe at some point on our interview, I can sing the song and show the movements. But it's also on YouTube.
I think what you said is really important about children being seen and heard. Knowing they're important and they're important. So can you talk a little bit more about maybe the teachers themselves, about their own mindful practice, how important it is for them to be practicing or sharing?
Sure. Yeah. One of the things we share about in Mindful Schools is that as an educator, your nervous system is the intervention. It is the curriculum. You know, your presence, how you show up is the curriculum, the unwritten curriculum. Mm-hmm. So, you know, really practicing for yourself first, having your own daily practice of stillness, of reflection, of pausing, can just, you know, before you even do anything with the kids, just if you walk into the room mindfully, that's already teaching the kids, transmitting mindfulness to the class. You know, the way you write on the board, the way you pass out supplies, the way you look at each child, that already, you know, could be the lesson right there. You know, so, and then, you know, being able to monitor what's going on for you, like as an educator, when we get irritated or frustrated or start to feel tired, knowing that gives us a lot more options. Because sometimes if we're not aware of what's going on inside, that will spill out onto the children with a different, you know, a harsher tone than we really mean, or less than kind words, you know, out of our impatience or something. So being able to come back and really check in with ourselves, take some breaths, take good care of ourselves, say, hey, I need a little pause here. And I know teachers who've done that, who just, they've had a really difficult class. Maybe that class was just going through something that day. This teacher, she just sat in stillness for 2 minutes. And the whole class was kind of going a little bit, you know, everyone was yelling and throwing things. And she just was like, I just am going to try to at least bring peace into myself. And pretty soon other students noticed she wasn't, you know, yelling, she wasn't agitated, and they got calm also. And she said to them, she said, you know, I need this every class, so I'm going to do it, and you can either do it or not. But she noticed over the next few days or weeks, more and more kids started to join her in that 2 minutes at the beginning of the class until all the kids had joined her. So just taking a pause as an educator when we feel upset can really help and it can help us then relate to if there's a kid that's really being difficult or going through a tough time, instead of reacting and judging that child. We have the space inside, that space-free pebble, to say what's going on, and if we can stay calm and try to connect to them on a heart level, we may find out there's something really difficult going on for them.
Yeah.
Or you may find a way to help them that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do.
Yeah. I love that, Kaira, especially that story that you told of the choice that teacher made to take that pause, because it's easy as a teacher, 30 kids or however many, and it's I think it's really important to remember that we have that choice, and to bring that in the classroom. And I love that it spread to the Really wonderful. So
my just one more thing about that. My sense is that, from doing a lot of children's programs and things in schools, I find that I know there's a perception that kids can't do stillness, or they're too wound up to pause. But I've noticed, especially in groups of kids, that there's sometimes they are starving for that. May not be every single child, but you'd be surprised. Even the really kind of what we would maybe label hyper kids or really active kids, when they're given a chance and support of not just told to go off and do their own thing or just be quiet, but when they're given an invitation to really be present. I really feel like kids have a natural inclination towards things that are sacred or meaningful, or that involve something deeper than just the everyday things. And so when you light a candle, or when you invite soft music, or when I'm not saying this works every time for every kid, but I noticed there's a sense of the kids don't get that very much. They don't get that invitation to touch something inside themselves. And so when even very young kids, when there's an opportunity to be still, to be quiet, to be in touch with something very profound, very pure, they are with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I sat with kids in a class. I went to teach mindfulness for kids in a class in Germany, and there were 30 kids. And I brought my mindfulness bell, and what I did at the beginning was I taught them how to invite the bell, and we passed the bell around, and all 30 kids invited the bell one time, and it took about 15 minutes. And the class sat totally still and silent, completely engaged, not checked out. But everyone wanted to see how each person would invite the bell. And with each person inviting the bell, we breathed in and breathed out. And the teacher was amazed. She was like, I've never seen them be still that long.
Yeah.
She didn't think they could do that, but they were interested.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. I think you're so right. The kids, I think they crave kind of that.
Yes.
And especially in a busy, noisy classroom, it can bring in. I think it's something that's something that they can have for a lifetime, that they can bring with them. So it is really a gift for kids. So do you have any more ideas about how we can help children kind of feel peace on a daily basis? I know there's a lot of anxious kids nowadays. Schoolers. So.
Well, I was thinking about, having kids bringing attention in a classroom setting to what is already beautiful and peaceful and wonderful in our lives. So if we're outside, then having them look at the sky, and that's what they do anyway. So it's really just kind of underlining, supporting their natural tendency to be in a state of wonder. So to just have them notice, the sky, and to let that sink in, take time. So I think we rush kids so much through life, and when they stop to notice something, then we can stop and notice it with them, or give all of us time to appreciate it. If we notice ants walking across the path, and we can get down there and really, look at that, look at how they're walking, and just give them space and time to take in the beautiful things around them. I was teaching a parenting class in Washington, D.C., a mindful parenting, mindfulness for parents. And one of the mothers said that because of the class, she now starts her day differently with her 5-year-old son. When she leaves the house to go take him to school, she pauses and she says, let's breathe in. And she looks out at the beauty of the trees on the street, and she just takes in that moment of, hey, we're starting our day together. And she holds his hand and she says, this is going to be a wonderful day. Mm-hmm. So that kind of thing of like kids, our attention is very malleable. We can put our attention anywhere. We can put it on the things we don't like, or we can, get absorbed in video games and entertainment, or we can put our attention on things that really nourish us. So as an adult, we can help kids feel more peaceful, less anxious by putting our attention together with them on what is wonderful already around us. One of the places I love to do this is with food, because kids generally love to, it's a very, a time of life where food is a lot of, curiosity, joy, interest in food. So taking time to really look into the banana, to ask them, what does it feel like? How is it cool? Is it warm? What does it taste like? Or what does it feel like when you swallow? And can you feel it when it goes into your tummy? I think they can feel all of these things, and then thinking, having them visualize, where does the banana come from? It comes from a banana tree, and it took a long time to grow, and we can thank that tree, we can thank the farmer, we can thank the sun and the rain and the earth. And you can help them see all the ways that banana is connected to every other thing, and then connected to them as well. So gratitude is a really great way to nourish peace in kids that age. I have a practice before eating of being aware of 3 things to be grateful for, and I've shared that with kids in my life, and they're quite capable of, once they get a hang of it, sometimes they'll just go on and on and on and all these things they're grateful for, and it really shifts their attitude. Sometimes they're in a bad mood, and we start talking about what we're grateful for, and suddenly they notice that they feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
I love all those really, really practical ideas. So thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Do you have any resources or tools that you can recommend for teachers out there that are looking to bring in these practices?
Yeah, well, for the Pebble meditation, there's a whole book just dedicated to Pebble meditation. It's a book for children. It's called A Handful of Quiet by Parallax Press. And then in the book I edited, Planting Seeds, it explains how to teach it. And it also offers Pebble meditation cards, which is another way to do Pebble meditation if you don't have the pebbles, or if you just want to give them more of an image. You can have them read the card or read the card together, and it's a very beautiful design on it. You can just make a color copy of that page of the book. So for Pebble meditation, that's a resource. And in general, for the preschool age, there's also a book from Parallax Press for younger kids, like toddlers, 2, 3-year-olds. It's called Each Breath a Smile, written by Sister Susan. And then in the community. So that's a nice book that explains how to breathe, how to be in touch with the world around us mindfully for that age. I'm sure there's many other books, mindfulness books. Those are the ones that I know of right off the bat. And then there are also some apps, good apps for adults to practice. 10% Happier, Headspace, Teach, Breathe,
Buddhify, I think.
and Buddhify. I'm mixing up that last one is to breathe. Anyway, I'll think of it. There's a 3-word app, 3 different nouns. Anyway, and then so some of these apps have guided meditations for kids or practices that adults can do with kids. Buddhify has a whole children's section. I have some meditations for kids on there.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So maybe you can just, before we finish, could you share some stories maybe about how you've worked with kids with mindfulness and how that's connected them more maybe to themselves or to their families or their communities?
Yeah. I was sharing with kids it was on a retreat about connecting to the earth. So this you could do with the mountain solid, feeling the solidity, the stability of the earth. We were learning about how we can just lie on the earth, like in a child's position, and really rest ourselves and take refuge, really allow the earth to hold us and release our difficulties on the earth. It's about, how we can move through difficult emotions also. And get the help of the earth, the stability of the earth for when we're overwhelmed. We can go into child's pose and just release and feel the connection that we have with all the beings that are also supported by the earth. So we did this practice and talked about it and drew about it and sang songs about it. And then there was an 8-year-old girl in my group, and later her mom told me, I'm still in touch with this family. She's now 18. But her mom told me that after learning this practice, they were back in their dorm room, they were on the retreat, and they had a big fight. Mm-hmm. And the little girl went into this child's position and said, I'm going to practice connecting with the earth to help myself calm down and feel better. And she practiced right away what we had done together, and she breathed and she calmed down, and her mother was amazed. She told me later, she's like, she just, went down and really took care of herself in that moment, and she knew what to do to help herself. Yeah.
It's amazing when you see kids take this and on their own.
Yes.
The skills. It's we cry.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. There's a mom told me this story also. When we shared Pebble meditation with the kids, she said when her son got scared, he went somewhere quiet and sat down, and he was holding his pebble, and his mom asked, what are you doing? And he said, I'm practicing to be like a mountain. I'm practicing with my mountain pebble. So he knew he could use that when he was upset or afraid. Yeah. So,
Tell us about, you did I think a group in Germany with mothers and babies.
Oh yes, this is for young kids, babies and toddlers. It was just a powerful experience. This was a midwife in Bonn, and she invited us we led a day of mindfulness for the parents in her group. And what impressed me so much was the way she guided all of us to meditate. And we put the all the parents put the babies and the toddlers in the middle of the circle, and the parents were on the outer, edge of the room against the wall. And it was an eyes open meditation where we were present, with aware of what was happening in us, aware of what was happening with the babies. If the babies needed, anything, parents were holding them, or, we weren't like ignoring the babies, but we were doing our best to really be present for, I don't know, maybe it was 5 or 10 minutes, simply letting the babies do what they were doing and the parents being mindful and more or less, still if they didn't need to be active. But I thought that was a very powerful new way of thinking of meditation.
I've not heard that before, so that just shows, doesn't it, that we can really do this anywhere, and we don't have to kind of always think we need to plan these things ahead and learn how to do things.
And it's not that our babies, our kids have to be, away, or we have to be alone to be mindful.
Exactly.
I mean, there's certain times when that's really helpful, but there's lots we can do with our kids to be mindful with them.
For sure.
And with others, with their kids.
So, do you think would you mind singing us the song?
Sure. I want to make sure you can see my gestures. I'm going to move back a little bit so you can. Okay. So I can share the words with you all too. But
okay.
Goes. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. I am free, I am free, I am free.
Wow, that's beautiful. That was so much fun as well for
this part. They love this part.
I can imagine. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure, and it exists in many languages. If you have people joining the summit from different countries, we have that translated, so they can look it up on YouTube, and I can try to send some links.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Kaira, for joining us. Are there any last words you want to say to our viewers today before we end?
Just, I'm so happy that you're joining the summit, and thank you for your interest in mindfulness and sharing it with young children, with preschool children. I think the earlier we start with kids, the more chance the children have to really access a deeper happiness and peace and fulfillment in their lives. So just thank you all for your interest and commitment to this.
Thank you so much, Kaira.
Thank you.
All that you shared today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.